toiled westward on the sun's path, and by strength and skill and valor, they rolled the unknown back before them. The continent was crossed. The Republic had reached its farthest frontier. Meriwether Lewis's dream had come true. And the thing was done. Here on the river where they set forth, we have raised a monument to their dream, and to all those who followed on the way west. Their dream had shaped half a continent. How was their monument to find its form? Across time, said architect Eero Saarien, an absolutely simple shape has given the great memorials their significance and dignity. Here, neither an obelisk, a pyramid, nor a dome would do. In this place, for our time, a great yet simple arch did seem right. And so it was. But concealed in its simple shape was a set of construction complexities which would challenge both architect and engineer. Unlike the arches of antiquity, it was too high to be built with scaffolds. Each leg had to be self-supporting till they were met and joined together. And each leg would have to carry on its back to 630 feet the machines and the men who would build it. Above 300 feet, the legs would tend to sway and flutter, so they'd have to stiffen them with steel tendons and bond the skins with concrete, forming building blocks heavy as a locomotive. It would stand higher than any monument in the land and weigh more than an aircraft carrier, yet be strong enough to sway only 18 inches in a 150-mile-per-hour wind. No detail could compromise its grace and beauty, but every component would have to bear its load across time, including the outer surface. In the winter of 1962, the work was begun. They would handle over 900 tons of stainless steel before they were through. 165,000 square feet of quarter-inch plate, more than for any other single project in history. Giving the metal its form, they would weld it, scribe, saw, shave, grind, mold, and sculpture the steel. Before they were done, they would join together metal of most every shape and size. Some 500 tons of stiffeners and tie rods, 2,000 tons of carbon steel plate. All this they would marry to the stainless, creating steel rectangles larger than a boxcar. Mating the carbon steel plates to the back of the stainless finished what was labeled a subsection. Here they called it simply making a sandwich. A 15-ton, 2-ply, 12 by 54-foot special. Steel bearing steel, away from its Pennsylvania origins. In St. Louis, the triangular foundations had been formed and set. 26,000 tons of concrete sunk 60 feet down into native bedrock. They stood in their place now, ready to bear their first burden of steel. It was moving westward, at a pace the pioneers could not imagine, but on a path they had carved themselves. Finally, the Mississippi. Here on the river that still tells where the West began, they made ready to raise their span of steel. And the work was passed to the hand of the iron men.
Good enough.
They set forth in the spirit of those who had walked this same ground more than a century before. Ahead of them, they saw only hard work, a far-off destination, a thing to be done. They'd push 15 tons a fraction of an inch, lining it up precisely for the welder's final touch. The first piece was ready February 12, 1963. Close by, Lewis and Clark had set out to the sound of cannon shot and cheering. Only the silent snow would witness this beginning. Their goal was over 600 feet and several seasons in the distance. But they had begun.
That side's pretty good. Let's look at the other.
Here their progress would be measured in 50-ton steel triangles, put together by men who were closer kin to the trappers and pioneers than they knew.
Hey, Jim. Take that tag line under over there. Take that tag line under there. Hey,
They too were a mixed and scattered breed, men given to roaming and reshaping the face of the land. Designed to fit, and carefully engineered that way. But there were times when its builders would have to reach back for the same tools they had used for 100 years. Once seated, each section had to be brought into line with the one below. The welding gap would be honed to its proper 1/8 of an inch width and tack welded to true fit. Then the sections could be permanently joined, bonded together along all three sides, creating a continuity of strength. Summer 1963. 6 sections are up, 72 feet high. The ground cranes can reach no higher. Problem: how to raise the remaining sections. answer. First, fix supporting columns on the back side and lift the work scaffolds into place. Then, pick up an 80-ton platform derrick, swing it into position, and attach it to the back side. Now it will hoist the sections and itself the rest of the way. By the fall of '63, the distance they had come was reflected in the great river, and for the first time its grand scale was apparent. Moving into 1964, they were approaching 300 feet. Up to this level, much of their work was concealed in the innards. Before each concrete pour, they placed a set of steel tendons in carefully calculated positions. When spliced with the ones below, these tendons formed an unbroken band of strength, running down between the skins deep into the foundations of the arch. When the splicing was done, they were ready for the concrete. They brought up over 25,000 tons of it, and its weight between the skins gave greater stability to the legs. The concrete also served as a bond between the inner and outer skins, and it was here that the steel tendons were brought into play. The tendons possessed great tensile strength, which must now be captured and locked, squeezing the concrete and skins together. To stretch them to the locking point would take 70 tons of pull. Summer 1964. They have built a railroad into the sky and moved the creeper derrick up its tracks. On this day, more track must be laid, and the creeper pulled up to its next station, 400 feet. First, the steel I-beam track is maneuvered onto the backside, eased into position, and bolted to the leg. At 400 feet, they were handling the same tonnages and tasks as they had down below, but there were differences. Increased with the height. They could feel more shift and sway in the legs, and they had less room. When the lifting bar and cable were fastened down tight, they were ready to lift. Stay within reach of its work, the 80-ton creeper would haul itself up 4 sections at a time to the top. And they would have to bring it down the same way, taking the track off as they went. After each lift, they would lock it off, level and adjust the platform legs. Then they'd be ready once more ensure uniform temperature conditions, they took their geometry control readings at night. Sighting on target lights, they would locate exact points on the corners of the legs. Their readings would be compared with computerized ideal points. Their margin for error, 1/64th of an inch, could mean failure at the top.
Coming up easy. Oh, sorry.
June 17th, 1965. On this morning, a 60-ton bridging strut will be lifted 530 feet. They have raised the legs too high now to stand alone. They must join them together before they can build any higher.
300 up the top, boy. About 300 right now, but 300 feet. Oh, we're right on the money. Yep, or just give me at least about every 15 or 20 feet now. It's getting pretty high. 419, 420 going through the shell. Both in the reach, 420. We're right on the money. Looks like we can take over most any time. You know what they're going to do, don't you, Morgan? Yeah. 78. No, I'll be here. 79. 480 going through the shell. 480 feet. Okay, Bill, a big load's even with the top of the order. 500 feet. Easy now, Bill, easy. I might stop you any time now. Hold that, Bill. Hold that. All right, both sides to stop, boys. Yeah. All right, now, Bill, we're going to get our swing. We're going to get our swing. So swinging right, easy. Swinging right, just as easy as you can. Just keep her nice and easy. Easy now, that's close. Hold that. Hold that swing. Have we got any bolt pins, Vito? What do you say? Have we got any bolt pins? Oh, big bolt? Yeah. Yeah, they're putting them in now. Put lots of it. Good. You're going in all right, huh? Don't seem to be having a bit of trouble. Oh, sir. Well, that thing was tough, wasn't it? I figured it'd get a little belly in it, and maybe, you know. No, but we picked it down here. It was stiffer than the devil. No, that's a good support. Boy, it is. We're kind of glad to see it in there, too. Yeah, me too. When that storm comes up, it won't shake you off of there no more.
Late summer, 65. They've gained the pitchover point and can see now the cross-section of their work. The decreasing distance between them has become the measure of their goal.
Okay.
With luck, in a few weeks' time, they'll be close enough to touch. September 1965. More than 2.5 years since they first began. Getting to work now has become a job in itself. What used to be a short climb up the ladder is now a 12-minute ride on the backside. There were other signs. The decreasing size of the sections told them how far they had come. When they saw the ventilator hole for the hoist motor, they knew it was section number 6. Only 5 more to bring up. Back when they began, the project had attracted its share of skeptics. But through the long cycle of the seasons, whatever the wind or the weather, they had pushed their work higher and higher. beginning, it was predicted that 13 of them would never make it this far. But not a single man would be lost. And the closer they came, the more carefully and deliberately they moved. Section by section, piece by piece, they were closing in on their goal. And though no one spoke openly of it or revealed any outward sign, the end was clearly in sight. October 28th, 1965. Sky clear. Temperature 40 degrees. Wind 10 miles an hour from the east. Down below, the final piece moved toward its liftoff. On top, the tension began to mount with the temperature. The engineers figured it was a race with the sun. To set the last piece, they must first jack the legs apart. But the south leg had begun to expand and deflect in the sun's heat. The last piece must be brought up before the legs were forced too far out of line. They would fight the heat with as much water as they could pump. But they sent up word that it would only work for a while, 45 minutes at the outside. Now they would shove 500 tons of pressure against the legs, jacking them slowly apart the final 4 feet they needed.
Your flight's right about even with the top speed. I don't know. Steamboats, I guess, celebrate.
The historian was writing of Lewis and Clark, but the spirit of his words belongs just as truly to those who shaped and raised this monument. By strength and skill and valor,